I just want to say this out loud, I think for most all of us. I'm so glad the debates are done. And please go vote. Our presiding bishop has made a great video, which is posted on our Good Shepherd Facebook page, or you can go to the Episcopal USA website to see it. But his message is that it is our Christian duty to care for our democracy and vote. One of our families has been in Washington, D.C. this past week. Alan and Martine took Daniel and Colette out of school. Alan had a meeting back there, so they took the kids out of school for this trip, what I call a pilgrimage to our capital. They went to the Smithsonian and all the memorials, the Lincoln, the Washington, the Roosevelt, the Vietnam, the Holocaust. These magnificent and profound memorials to both the highs and lows of our national life. My parents did this with me. I did this with my children. Many of you have done this. Because it is important to viscerally understand that a democracy is not a given. It is not to be taken for granted. It is not necessarily fragile, thank goodness, but it can be torn and damaged, and our primary way to protect our democracy is by voting year after year after year. So it's our civic duty, but it's also, as our presiding bishop reminds us, it is our Christian responsibility. And I urge you to take Jesus with you when you mark your ballots. In fact, take Jesus with you wherever and whenever you go. To school, to work, at home, to church, to Rotary, to PEO, to wherever you go. You are Jesus' hands and feet and heart. And despite all of its flaws, we are truly blessed to be citizens of this country. And we are truly blessed even more to be citizens of God's realm, the kingdom of heaven, where His will is done. So we've got this parable that Jesus tells us, this hated publican, this tax collector, this collaborator with Rome, traitor to his people. He is still ritually pure. That's the only way he can enter the temple, to be ritually pure. So he is still ritually pure. He may not be morally pure, but he is ritually pure. And he's gone to the temple to pray, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I recently watched a show that depicted Jews at prayer during Yom Kippur, which was very moving to see the entire congregation, men and women, standing in unison and beating their breasts, as they recited this corporate confession of sin. Like a drum that got louder and louder and more insistent, the thump of fist on heart moved through the whole group, so that even watching on my screen, I got this visceral sense of sorrow over sin. Sorrow over sin, which is any action or a system which divides us from one another and from the earth and from God. Now, in the Protestant tradition, we've gotten kind of waylaid by an emphasis on personal sin and personal salvation. But this ancient, ritual, heart-beating, corporate confession is not just about individual wrongdoing. It's a way for the group to acknowledge systemic wrongdoing, big stuff, over which we have very little control, but in which we are all culpable. Big stuff like racism, sexism, homophobia, militarism, the isms, which it has become fashionable to denigrate because they smack of political correctness. But whether it is correct or incorrect, the truth is these systems are entrenched in our society. Not just in our society, but worldwide. They are part of the human condition. They're just part of who we are as human beings. It's extraordinarily human to divide groups up by who is us and who is them, and to know that us is better than them. children are very honest about this. My daddy is bigger, smarter, stronger than your daddy. And developmentally, that is important. It's an important way of sorting out what belongs to me and what does not belong to me. And it's important for securing my place in the whole scheme of things, to know where I am safe. Having my daddy be bigger, stronger, smarter makes me safe. And so developmentally, we need to do this. But we also need to grow out of it. We need to grow into a larger and larger perspective. One that can acknowledge that while my country is beautiful and lovely and problematic and challenging and worthy, so is yours. And while my white people customs make sense to me, so do yours to you. You're mostly white people. But not all, thank goodness. Thank goodness. But the truth is that when you are in the majority, it is so easy, so incredibly easy to not even see your own privilege. To not even see how your way, which seems so clearly like the right way or the most sensible way, it's just your way. It's neither more right or wrong than any other way. The only true standard is God's way. And in that, we all fall short. Every single one of us. I have a priest friend who begins his services with a variation on the AA greeting. He says, instead of saying, "Hi, I'm Mac, I'm an alcoholic," he says, "Hi, I'm Mac, I'm a sinner." Now, why does he do that? Because it's true. Because it's true, and it's true for each and every one of us. And we may not have, broken any massive laws. We may not have gone to jail. We might have, but we might not have. But we sin in so many ways that we are mostly not even conscious of, hurting other people in ways that if we knew, we wouldn't do it. But our ignorance itself is harmful. He who says he does not sin is a liar, so says 1 John. And because it is true, this is true of each and every one of us. It is one way to acknowledge ourselves as sinners. This is one way that we have to cut through all the superficial stuff that divides us, that gives us the impression that some of us are better than others of us, that some of us are more worthy, and that therefore, because we are more worthy, that's the reason we have more stuff, more connections, more happiness. Hi, I'm a sinner. It's a straightforward tonic to cut through the white bread, vanilla-coated blandness of our church demeanors, and to connect us to one another in the truth of who we are. And when we're connected that way, just as human beings, there is a chance for God to move in our lives and to fill us with the needed rain of saving grace and the needed rain of compassion and real connection and the rain of peace. Because then we are standing on the solid ground of His mercy, rather than the shifting sands of trying to prove that we are good and okay people. Our world is shaking, my friends. It is shaking. And when the election is come and gone, our world will still be shaking. What has been unloosed in this season will not easily be tamed. And we need honesty and humility more than ever. We need the solid ground of honesty within ourselves, and between ourselves, and in all humility before our Lord. Before our Lord, who alone is able to save us, and to heal us, and to redeem us into a brighter future. God, be merciful to us.
who are sinners. Amen.